It's Danu on Fire right here on Hi TV, your luxury channel. We're checking out Taj Samudra, and this is the Golden Dragon. It's one of our favorite restaurants, and we have a legend himself who is gracing our show today. We have the one and only Senaka. Love this new look going for you.
Thank you.
Senaka, how are you doing these days?
Okay, a bit bored, but
yeah, I think everyone is a little bit bored with all what's happening.
No creative work. Danu.
They keep the creativity aside when the budgets need to be cut. Sad. One of the reasons why I wanted to bring Senaka is that on social media these days there's this huge debate going on about models and creating models and supermodels, and the list just goes on. This term, supermodel, can we in Sri Lanka use it?
Yeah, normally a supermodel is someone whom you can't do without. It's the design, you understand? Designers, I mean, most sought after models who can take so many different kinds of looks, and it's the designers who really make the supermodels, not the supermodels themselves.
Right.
Now, the new ones are wearing the crown on their own.
Yeah.
But crowning themselves.
But supermodels don't wear crowns?
No, what I mean in Sri Lanka, people are wearing, taking a sash and putting it on, and self-proclaimed supermodels.
Right.
The only supermodel I think is Perrine, the one in Paris.
Yeah.
So it's actually designers who really want to pay anything to have that model wear your clothes. That's how it makes them super.
Right. And you have been in the fashion industry for so long, and you have seen how it has evolved over the years. And at the time when you started, fabrics that are available today were not. There were not many people giving the attention that what can I say, merchandising industry might have needed. But yet you found a way to create statement pieces. How was it when you were working with the crowd at that time?
No, I must say it has deteriorated over the years. There was a certain a finesse, you know what I mean? Even the models, everybody had a certain, but now what is happening is, I think with these urban dandies taking over the whole industry, you understand? That is what is happening right now to the fashion and the beauty industry.
But back in the days, in terms of sourcing fabric might have been a challenge, because even now people find it as a challenge.
Yeah.
But we have somehow not given enough attention to fabric making in our country. Why do you think that that market is still empty?
No, it all depends, like during that Sirimavo Bandaranayaka time, there were no imports. That's when Barefoot, Senaka De Silva, all thrived because they found a way of creating your own fabrics. And also, Danu, you cannot have a fashion industry without your own fabrics. You can't be running to Pamunua and the Pitako tour and buying things and sewing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have to be original.
Yeah. But internationally, when we see a piece of garment, we always know from the thread that is used to the piece, it's all just, it belongs to the designer solely. Here we see things put together.
Yeah.
And what are your thoughts on printing, screen printing?
There is a lot of things. Batik is also just another technique of printing. You can do screen prints, you can do block prints. What beautiful things India is doing, which we haven't still done,
But where do you think the issue is?
Issue is, I think it's in the governments. They don't bring out things like that and help the craftsmen to keep those industries alive. This is the whole thing. Now the batik industry, the dyes are so expensive, it will collapse. The same thing with the handloom industry. The government, we don't make our own threads. So you have to depend on somebody else to bring the yarn. So like that.
But we have all the resources to do it ourselves.
Of course. We were a cotton, we used to have our own kapok industry, They used to make cotton and make your own threads. And we had all the Tulhiriya, K-Tex, Vatex, all those mills that made the fabric for all our batik industrialists. Yeah.
And later on that all just sort of...
All collapsed.
All collapsed. Okay. Tell me, you are someone who is now you observe a lot of things. So you are someone who always wants to have that fine finish. Do you see that fine finish today?
No, frankly, it's very sad that the fashion industry, everything has really collapsed. Because there is no originality. There is nothing is exciting to watch. You know what I mean? Because when we used to do fashion shows, we used to imagine the whole look, run here and there, get things, make our own accessories. You know what I mean? There was a lot of creativity. It's just very boring now, I find it.
Sitting through a show is painful for you? Yeah. Okay. On that note, we need to get into a break, but I would like to let you know that if you want to come and make something memorable, this place serves brilliant food. We're going to get into that. We'll see you right after. Welcome back to the show. We are checking out Taj Mudra and we are in conversation with Senaka. We've spoken about some of the challenges that the fashion world today is facing in Sri Lanka, but I wanted to ask him, crowns are now freely available. Actually, in another 10 years' time, I could say I also want Miss Sri Lanka. Everyone has won except the two of us.
Yeah.
But buying a crown is quite cheap. There are crowns starting from 150 rupees. Those are the small ones. The second runner-up or the fourth runner-up will get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you have big ones as well, no?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me about the pageants today, the standards, because we have had some scandals. People have fought for the crown. It's a battle of the crowns now.
No, frankly, I think now everyone is a beauty queen.
Yeah,
When
that's
you go, I'm Miss this, Miss International, Miss Grand, this and that, everyone. And everyone, it looks as if they have gone to one of those shops like Srina Palace and had a fight and thrown tiaras at each other. So, it's, I don't know what this whole thing is. Self-proclaimed beauty queens.
And recently we did see like a graduation from a modeling school that graduated over 256 models. Are they fit to be on the ramp or in any category?
I don't know, I think it's, you can't help it also. If there's a market, people will start this kind of thing, And then models and supermodels, and far too many fashion schools now. You understand? Everyone is a model and badly trained, they'll ruin this whole industry. Danu, when we were, in our prime of our careers, we looked at somebody and they had to have a particular look,
They
tall
need to have the height,
and lovely features, and then we would go and ask them, why don't you come into the modeling thing? And at that time, parents didn't want their daughters going for things like this, but we convinced people and we gave them that respect that was due to them.
And the assurance of standards.
And that's how we made our own, we had our own supermodels, because if there is a show, if the model payment, we don't mind paying more even, because we want her. Like if everyone wanted Akushla Sellaya, because she had a particular look, that royal and Rai's mother. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She was bomb at that time. So people will pay anything. And people will, when there were shows, quickly people were paying and trying to book the girls before.
Right.
So that is that whole hype. And the models themselves can make themselves super by giving a fabulous performance and looking good on the catwalk.
In terms of this pageant, like we have had some very respectable people winning titles, and you were telling me about a few people. Tell me about back in the days. How hard was it to win a crown?
No, earlier we used to have the Miss Sri Lanka for Miss World and Universe both. And I think the very first beauty queen that came within the first three was Maureen Hingert.
Right.
Lovely, tall, nice looking girl. So like that, we had really lovely contestants who came down the line, like Mane Lilangakon, Yolande Alip, Felicity Ashburn, Ranjini Jayatilaka. These were all, divas of that era. And all of them went for Miss World and Miss Universe. And we didn't have any of these other.
Yeah, and these were the prime thing to win.
Yeah, exactly.
Because now, for example, there are different categories of models today. There are commercial models, there are photo shoot models, you have hand models, feet models, you name it, there's a model. But when it comes to a ramp model, you look out for a few things. What are those essential things you look out for?
One thing is, height. And also, a lovely body, and also slim, tall, long limbs. You know what I mean? Because I think as fashion designers, everybody draws elongated figures. So you want to put your clothes on a model like that. You don't want, somebody bursting at the seams. You understand? So that's how this lean and hungry look came into this thing.
Right.
And in Paris, one time breasts are in and breasts are out. So it's a huge hullabaloo. And sometimes the designers in Paris, actually they tape the girls' busts down with tape, like duct tape or like sticking plaster like that, because they hate these things like
bulging.
This. Because the clothes get ruined. You know what I mean? But then there were the supermodels that were all fixed with boobs done and lips all botoxed, and that look also came. So from time to time, like the clothing is changing, the fashion models also
have to change.
That lean and hungry look
is gone.
Some look as if they have eaten the little they thrown up the little they ate.
Yeah, but there was an interesting story that he told me during the break. That you were the one who discovered Pushpika.
Yeah.
Tell me that story, how you found her. It's an interesting story.
No, actually, I was traveling, I think, all over the country with this group called PABA, Professional Hairdresser and Bridal, some association. So one of the designers was to get a model from Colombo, and this girl hadn't arrived in Polonnaruwa.
Right.
So this guy was coming and crying backstage and saying, "Sir, mage model avilla ne, balanda monada karanne." I said, "Inna," like that, and I said, "Wait." I went and moved the curtain and I looked out into the audience, and then I saw this sort of big maid, like a tall girl standing there. I walked down the aisle, and then when I went and asked her, I said, "Would you like to be a part of this show?" She agreed. So she came, and then they did some fantasy bridal or something. And from that day onwards, she was fully booked. Every day she was at the Maharagama, that youth center, doing bridals, this, that. Then she did the Derana Miss Sri Lanka. I think she won something.
Yeah, Miss Sri Lanka.
And then I took her again and used her for Ramani shows. And then we are the ones who said, polish up a bit more, tone down your body, and like that we pushed her. So it was so lovely. Whatever we did, they're special. Even Ushi was again one of my discoveries.
And sometimes that physique is something it's very hard to find in our country. That height and the
very difficult. I don't know. Sometimes I think that why the world tries to select girls and have competitions for bodies, because they are from their genes are different.
Correct.
Asian girls are smaller made, you know what I mean? Those Venezuelas and all are thin and tall and, you know, big made.
Correct.
So I think Pushpika, out of a lot of girls that we have had, in all, to give her the due respect, I think she was one of the very good bodies that we sent for one of the contests. You know why? Because in swimsuits and various things, when you go abroad, you can't have these little bits and little bandy legs, and you know what I mean? You can't.
You can't have the bandits. Let's get into a break. We'll see you soon after. Do stick around. It's the Danu on 5. Welcome back to the show. Our final segment right here on Danu on 5, speaking to Senaka. Now, we wanted to speak a little bit about the self-proclaimed supermodels. Now, you told me something very interesting. Now, you have seen the self-proclaimed supermodel these days who has become the talk of the town. What are your thoughts on her?
I don't know, frankly, I don't know how can anybody with a face like Alfonso Mango call themselves a supermodel.
But it's just
she might get some promotional work at the supermarkets.
But there's super there as well, which is a good thing. It's always a start. Now, in terms of your career thus far and the things that you want to create and what you have done, everyone is looking at shows internationally, and we have had some great representation happening, and recently we have seen such wars happening. If you were choreographing a show or if you were in charge, what would your take be if people misbehave?
There won't be any misbehavior if we produce anything, because we are thorough. You know what I mean? We don't, and also it's a disgrace. I mean, look at people going, and we are Sri Lankans, man. Can you go like that and have a brawl at some of these beauty contests? I think it's just disgusting.
But don't you think there should be some kind of a national body that's coming?
There must have a fashion police. You understand? Fashion and beauty police that will arrest people for designing bad clothes and if you're dressed badly or whatever.
No, I'm just saying, because end of the day, we are representing Sri Lanka on international pageants. So that means there should be certain protocols, certain things that are looked into, so that we don't make it to bad news and we make it to good news.
But the thing is, if you try to give it to a ministry, it will be worse than what it is now.
Right.
So, if you understand.
Right.
So there must be a national body, you know, that governs all these things. You know what I mean? And also, most of these Danu, most of the girls who are selected for these things, other than the Miss World and the Miss Universe, because we are involved, you have to prepare them to go and take part in that international. That's a different thing. Completely.
But are there people willing to fund? Doesn't it all boil?
You can, if people. I mean, there are people. If there's a swimsuit company, if they want her to wear one of their swimsuits and, you know, become a brand manager or something, you can definitely get sponsorships.
Okay.
You know, we have in our own way, when we have Sangeeta and I, when we do the Miss World, also we try and get sponsorships and help the girls and, you know, to get their wardrobes ready. Winning the show here is a different thing. Taking part in preparing for the international show is completely a different thing, because it needs a lot of planning, you know.
Now, in terms of your creativity, your house is absolutely stunning. Do you feel like, what is the most valuable piece that you own out of all the antiques that you have?
I have beautiful pulkari, which is it's so hand sewn in the desert in India, near Rajasthan. I think Kolu gave it to me as a gift. Beautiful, hand done, handmade. The whole thing is hand embroidered pulkari. It's like a big wall hanging like that. You know, for me, when I see those things, when I imagine somebody sitting in some desert and sewing like that. That's where the value is.
Right.
You know, all those things are not for monetary value. It is purely because it's tried and true, and somebody has actually taken time to make a little padikkama or something like that. Those arty things. You know, you have so much of empathy for these other creative people, you know, across the globe.
Have you decided what you're going to do with all the collectible items that you have?
Actually, I want to, my main aim is to start this craft village. I will love to do like a craft museum someday.
Right.
You know, and then link it with, you know, training center for people to make pung bags and various things like that. My dream is that, but
But end of the day, right now things are coming into, like, you know, the mainstream fashion. Like, you know, even those woven bags, which were not looked into at one time, is now being appreciated so much. Yeah.
We can actually make it into a trend. You know what I mean? You have to slightly modify the, you know,
The
see that the
finishers,
finishers, everything. But there is so much of potential for our handicrafts. If it's diverted into a fashionable channel,
Yeah.
you can sell abroad very well.
Amazing. Thank you so very much, Senaka, for coming all this way, for spending time with me, and for being on the show. I really hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I enjoyed myself. Thank you, Danu, for having me.
Thank you. Well, always a pleasure to have you, Senaka. We'll see you with another cool episode of Danu and Fighter. Then you keep smiling. It's a wrap. Thanks for joining us.